Hey, everybody, good morning and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. If you happen to be tuning in via our 80s Wrestling the Podcast YouTube page, jump into the comment section, click the link to get on the air. Remember, before you join us, turn off your camera, audio callers only, use headphones if possible, and mute the YouTube live stream before entering the backstage area. Helps prevent some of that echo. Once you're in the backstage area, you can still follow and participate in the YouTube comment section by clicking the comment section of the studio app. And don't forget to follow the page, hit that notification bell to stay up to date on show topics, special guests, and all sorts of good stuff. This Saturday, America celebrates an incredible milestone, the 250th birthday of the USA. 2.5 centuries of history, freedom, and the red, white, and blue. So we thought, what better way to celebrate than by taking a trip back through wrestling history and paying tribute to the stars who proudly represented the good old USA inside the squared circle. This morning, we're asking the question that's sure to spark some passionate debate. Who was the greatest American-themed wrestler of all time? Was it the immortal Hulk Hogan telling us to train, say our prayers, eat our vitamins? Was it the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, the voice of the common man? Maybe it was Jim Duggan, Sergeant Slaughter, Lex Luger, Kurt Angle. Who knows what you think? But we're looking for the complete package. Who best embodied the American spirit? Who connected with the fans? Who had the greatest patriotic gimmick, the biggest moments, the most memorable promos, and left the biggest legacy? And as always, we're putting it right in your hands. We want to hear from you. Call in and tell us who gets your vote. Defend your pick. Challenge ours, and let's celebrate America's birthday the best way wrestling fans know how, with a spirited debate about the greatest American-themed wrestler of all time. All that and more on this live episode of 80s Wrestling, the podcast. My name, Jumpin' Jay, and joining me, as always, the one, the only, the ConFather, Mr. Tommy Fierro. Tommy, good morning, brother. What is going on today?
Oh!
Oh!
I mean, listen, you talk about American wrestlers, and obviously, Sergeant Slaughter is going to be one of everyone's top picks. Hulk Hogan obviously is probably everyone's top pick, but, you hear America, for some reason, Hacksaw Jim Duggan comes to mind for me immediately, outside of, obviously, Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter. Obviously, Kurt Angle is going to be up there. Some are going to be up there. But I think Duggan is going to be one of the underrated American characters when you start ranking them, because he came out with that USA flag, and he was Americana, most like the people that are watching him. Dusty Rhodes, although he didn't play a patriot type of character, he was the American Dream, so he has to be up there and considered. So it's gonna be an interesting talk today on 80s Wrestling, the podcast. Obviously, Hogan's gonna be on everyone's list. Obviously, Slaughter's gonna be on everyone's list. But I'm looking to hear and see why someone should possibly, or maybe in their opinion, be a little bit higher on the list than an obvious choice. So it's gonna be a fun topic today, especially 2 days before the 250th birthday of America.
That's right, Tom. And here's what I'd love to do. Our new home on StreamYard and YouTube has an option to put a poll out where people who are listening live via that YouTube page can vote inside the comment section. I'd like, right off the top of your brain, you mentioned some good ones, but give me your top 3 that you think are the greatest American-themed wrestlers of all time. I'll put them in a poll. I'll keep option 4 as other, and people can vote throughout the conversation. Give me your top 3 right off your dome.
Well, obviously Hogan, obviously Sergeant Slaughter, and although I just said Duggan, you think you talk about American characters, an Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle obviously has to be ahead of him. So that's the 3 I think I would go with: Hogan, Slaughter, and Kurt Angle.
All right, we're putting Tommy's poll of the greatest American-themed wrestlers of all time. If you're following
That's
us on
in
that YouTube page,
no particular order. Just
no particular order. But if you're in the YouTube page right now, you can, in the comments, you just have to put 1 as your comment. That'll give a vote for Hogan. Put a 2 if you want to vote for Sergeant Slaughter, 3 for Kurt Angle. Put number 4 for other. It'll tally live. We'll see where it ends up, and we're going to take some calls on the Slam Line, Tommy. This is going to be a fun one because there's been some really cool, fun American-themed wrestlers over time, and so it's tough when you start asking who's the greatest. All right, let's get right into it. Let's get into that Slam Line. It is stacked and packed and ready to go to celebrate the 4th of July. Up first on the Wrestling Collector Slam Line, it's time to fly out to the always sunny Chico, California. It's time to check in with Babyface Brian. Brian, good morning, brother. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great, and I want to wish both of you guys and your families a happy 4th of July, a happy 250th birthday to the country. I watched the American team win, the United States team win in the World Cup last night. That was a lot of fun, and I can't think of a better topic.
My family, my son's a big soccer player, so we sat around the TV last night watching Team USA in the World Cup. Exciting game. We win 2-0, and so yeah, what a great victory for them leading into this weekend. And so yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, I want to also shout out, there's 4 guys just off the top of my head that served our country that also were a part of wrestling. Those include Mr. T and Freddie Blassie and Corporal Kirshner and Jesse the Body Ventura. So I just want to mention those guys who served in the military and weren't necessarily patriotic people in wrestling so much, but definitely deserve to be shouted out. I got to call out the real American theme song, of course, belonging to the U.S. Express of Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo. And also to say that that was a huge part of Hulk's career, and it was great that they passed that on to him, or that he took that. I think that was just iconic as far as wrestling themes and so powerful with him. And then as far as what you guys have said already, yeah, I mean, I wasn't really watching much for Kurt Angle, but so I can't argue with that at all. But the 4 guys that are on my Rushmore that I have a hard time choosing between are the first 4 guys that you mentioned, and they're the first 4 guys that Tommy talked about, and that's Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Dusty Rhodes. And I feel like Dusty Rhodes embodied the spirit of the common man and the opportunity and everybody being included and having to be a part of the American dream. So I just love thinking of Dusty Rhodes and just embodying what the spirit of America is all about, and the promos that he did, and being somebody that wasn't this statuesque figure in wrestling, being somebody that had a little weight on his bones and didn't look like an athlete, but had all that charisma and all that success and was so inspirational to so many. So I could have an argument for all 4 of these guys, but Dusty's definitely on my Mount Rushmore. Hacksaw Jim Duggan just always was USA, USA, USA. Maybe more than anyone, focused on spreading the word of the U.S. and standing up for it, and waving that flag and just thumbs up USA. Hulk Hogan, of course, was always, he defeated the Iron Sheik. He stood up against Sergeant Slaughter when Sergeant Slaughter turned his back on America. So Hogan relied heavily on being a real American and being part of this patriotic movement towards the U.S. And then I guess if I have to pick one and I have to vote one, I'm going to go with Sergeant Slaughter at the top of that Mount Rushmore, the front of it, because of his crossover into G.I. Joe, because I actually got to know Sergeant Slaughter through G.I. Joe more so than before I got to know him as being a pro USA wrestler, and going back and watching some of his earlier stuff as a pro wrestler that was fully, I mean, he was a heel to start out, and a nasty drill sergeant in that role, but soon he and Iron Sheik crossed paths, and he stood for the U.S. for about 6 years before he came back to WWF and kind of turned his back on the country for a solid year and a half, and then went back to USA. But Sarge has inspired all kinds of people to join the military, and the crossover potential, like I say, G.I. Joe was huge for me growing up. And to be an icon, and the first real G.I. Joe, to be an icon in those 2 areas of wrestling and in G.I. Joe, I got to put Sarge up there and say that he's at the top of my list. And those other 3 that I mentioned, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Hulk Hogan, and the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, they're right there alongside of him on my Mount Rushmore.
The fact that Sarge turned his back on Old Glory ahead of WrestleMania 7 doesn't taint your American-themed opinion of the man.
You know, Hulk turned his back when he went to the NWO. He stopped spreading that, saying your prayers and eating your vitamins, and was the biggest heel in wrestling. Hacksaw Jim Duggan turned his back and went to Canada for a little while. Dusty Rhodes never really did, but yeah, Sarge and all that he accomplished and has represented for all the years, they kind of wash away that year and a half of or that year or so of bad taste in your mouth of going over to the other side. So yeah, it's okay with me that he did that.
Yeah, I don't think it taints a lot of people's memory that Sergeant Slaughter, good old SGT, as Tiffy would say, was the ultimate American patriot, a real American hero. Like you said, even G.I. Joe said so. So it's hard to argue with Sergeant Slaughter being the greatest American-themed wrestler of all time. But we're going to see where the conversation leads, babyface.
Yeah, and I got the opportunity to meet him at WrestleCon back in 2023 when Tommy had WrestleCon out there in New Jersey that year. And he put on his Hall of Fame WWF ring. He put on his Hall of Fame G.I. Joe ring and got pictures with me with both of them. He was a true gentleman. And I thank Tommy for such a wonderful couple days I spent out there in New Jersey, and in part being the first in line to meet Sergeant Slaughter. So thank you guys, and happy 250th and happy 4th of July.
Same to you, brother. Thanks for kicking off today's conversation. Great pick with Slaughter. All right, Tommy, that's one vote, at least on the slam line, for Sergeant Slaughter. And like you said at the opening, he's going to get a lot of people's votes because he does represent USA. I mean, he's a G.I. Joe, for goodness sake, Tommy. More callers waiting in the wings on the Wrestling Collector Slam line. Up next, buckle up. It's time for the world's most dangerous caller. It's time for Jason. Jason, good morning, brother.
Good morning, guys.
We're talking about the greatest American-themed wrestlers of all time. Babyface calls in, says Sergeant Slaughter. We got a poll going. People are voting Hogan. I'd love to get your take.
Well, I mean, a lot of people could say Sergeant Slaughter. A lot of people could say Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You could even throw Dusty Rhodes into it or Kurt Angle into it. But for me, it's Hogan. I mean, how do you go against Hogan as being the most patriotic wrestler of all time?
Break it down for me, because I agree. He's in our poll. He's on the screen right now with the American flag over his shoulder. He's the Real American is his theme song. Break it down. Why to you does Hulk Hogan best represent the American themed wrestler?
I mean, he just symbolizes America to me when it comes to wrestling. He symbolizes it. He fought against the Iraqi sympathizer and Sergeant Slaughter at WrestleMania 7. He fought against the Iron Sheik. He fought against Nikolai Volkov. I mean, he even had a flag match on Saturday night's main event against Nikolai Volkov. But the thing that stands out that most symbolizes Hogan as the most patriotic wrestler is that WrestleMania 7 match against Sergeant Slaughter.
It felt at the time for sure like he was defending all of America against the Iraqi sympathizer, Sergeant Slaughter. And a lot, like you said, he had great matches against the Iron Sheik. A lot of his matches, he seemed to be representing Old Glory. And so it's hard not to say Hulk Hogan's been the greatest American-themed wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just don't say, I mean, if I'm going to pick a second, it's probably going to be Hacksaw. And then Sergeant Slaughter.
Hacksaw's a great one. Like Tommy said at the opening of the show, you picture him with the 2x4. The other thing you picture him with, the American flag, the USA chant.
Basically come out and chant USA, USA.
I think from my childhood, if you're talking strictly like American theme, the guy that was out there pumping USA, it's hard not to pick Hacksaw because that's the first thing that pops in your mind. You come in with the ho, and then you hit the USA chant right after that.
First of all, I'd like to say hello to all the American Jewish people all around the world, Baba. On this Saturday, our America representing 250 years. I hear you, motherfucker. I have problem with you long time. I put you in the camel clutch. I'll bend you over. I'll fuck your ass. And for America's birthday, I'll make you humble.
What?
Looks like Tommy Sheik has torpedoed the American theme show.
Normal question. Normal question.
Neither one of us asked him a question, Jason. He always says no more questions. Jason, any response to Tommy Sheik?
I don't know, Tom. Who's he gonna beat up? I mean, who's he gonna bend over the daybed or whatever he said?
Fuck you on fucking the daybed. Bullshit.
It's getting a little out of control here on the American theme show. Tommy Sheik not liking the talk about Hogan and Hacksaw, that's for sure.
I don't know who he's gonna beat up. I just don't make no sense.
Maybe you should give him a vote for the American themed, and then maybe that'll satisfy.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry, guys. He comes out of the closet here at the Wrestling Collector every couple of months. I couldn't. I tried to grab the phone from him.
He comes out of the closet.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Oh my God! Well, that's a whole nother set of problems he's got to be coming out of the closet.
Yeah, listen. I would hold your jokes. I would hold your jokes today.
Well, I don't know. Does Tommy Sheik want? Is he like? Can he hear us? Does he want to cast a vote for the best American themed wrestler, Tommy, or is he back in the closet?
Hold on. Let me ask him. Sheik, you want to vote for the podcast? Who the best American is? Fuck you!
Guess not.
I don't think so.
Yes, I guess not. Well, Jason, we got your vote for Hogan recorded in the books, brother. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, one more thing. Kick Tommy's ass.
Best sign off in the business right there. Tommy Sheik came out of nowhere, Tommy. I was unprepared for that.
I was also. I'm very surprised by that, actually. I was going to say earlier, I was in the back room for some reason. They had a bad connection. When you were talking about Sergeant Slaughter and a lot of people going for him, yes, they absolutely should. And yes, he should definitely be up there. But in my own personal opinion, I don't think that I would put him ahead of Hogan. Only because, like you said, Jay, I know you said it kidding around, but it really is serious. He turned his back on America for a little bit. And while he came to his senses and came back and, was part of Old Glory again, he did turn his back on us. So for that reason alone, I won't put him number one. And it's going to be hard fought not to go with the Hulkster, especially with his theme song and everything he stood for. It's going to be a tough one. I'm interested to hear what other people think, though.
That's a solid point that Sergeant Slaughter turned his back. How can he be the greatest American if he turned his back? But like Babyface Brian said, he did come back. Still professes to be a true American to this day, goes to a lot of signings, seems to really enjoy meeting his fans. And so a nice guy. But yeah, is he the greatest American themed wrestler of all time? The debate rages on. It's time to go to school because next up on the Wrestling Collector Slam line, it's time for Professor Matt. Matt, good morning, brother.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm dealing with some spotty Wi-Fi here today, so bear with me. I was very happy to hear Kurt Angle's name. I think Tommy mentioned it right off the top, and for no other reason than he certainly deserves to be in the conversation, but also Kurt Angle's theme music is a great segue to another person who has not been mentioned yet because his theme music was previously the Patriot, Del Wilkes theme music in WWF in the 90s. And, the Patriot had an Uber USA gimmick, right? With the mask and the whole deal. And he used that gimmick in WWF and AWA and on the independents. And I think that gimmick has since been, that persona has been taken on by other people. But I think the Patriot, Del Wilkes, while he's not gonna come out number one if we're doing a poll here. But I think worthy of at least, enter the conversation, the Patriot, Del Wilkes. Some other certainly, valid people that should be part of this conversation. Lex Luger, right? I mean, the machine that got behind him during his babyface run was incredible, and body slamming Yokozuna on the deck of the Intrepid on July 4th. I mean, that doesn't get more Americana than that, right? Certainly Sting had a USA flavor to him a number of times in his gimmick. When we talk about Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I think great for the conversation, but I think what was a great character morphed into a more of a caricature of Hacksaw and USA, and I don't know that I'd put him near the top. For me, it really comes down to a couple of big players. Sergeant Slaughter. I mean, how does Mr. G.I. Joe himself not take that spot, right? I mean, you get pulled into G.I. Joe and the cartoons and the everything that goes along with it. But for me, it's I look at this question and this topic and I say, well, what's the greatest USA gimmick in the wrestling business? And I key in on those last two words, the wrestling business. And to me, it's who sold more merchandise and ticket sales and events and on and on and on. And that's Hulk Hogan. And he's the ultimate, USA themed gimmick. The training, the prayers, and the vitamins, and you slap a Hulk Hogan logo sticker on a lunchbox or anything, and it's gonna, sell millions of units. So, to me, the answer was clear, and it's not, the fabulous Rougeau brothers with their All American Boys gimmick. It's Hulk Hogan, and incidentally, he's the only person I think to have two distinct USA gimmicks. Being that we're talking about today, because he also was Mr. America for a period of time and donned the USA mask, and had that whole run in the early aughts. So I'm going with Hogan.
Do we know it was him underneath that mask? Is that confirmed?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure. I was watching intensely to see when and if that payoff ever came. I think I remember it not ever happening and sort of just fizzling away. So Jay, you raise a very good question.
Could have been anybody under that hood.
Could have been Del Wilkes under that hood. Could have been anybody, I suppose. You're right. But I guess if I'm going to go with, what I believe, then I'm going to say he had two USA gimmicks. And he's number one in my book.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with Hogan being number one. He's American made. He is America. I agree with you. If this conversation, Matt, was about best American wrestling gear, you could make an argument for your favorite, Randy Savage. I want to put his picture up now. He had, on an episode of Raw, some of the greatest Stars and Bars gear of all time.
He definitely did. And that has been captured in figure form as well. And then that's a great visual. The other thing with Hogan is that gimmick was him personified. And when he went to WCW first in '94 as a babyface, his theme music there was USA based, right? I don't recall the name of it. I think it was called American Made, actually. And so, taking that gimmick to multiple companies, being larger than life, and we know all the money that was produced in the business because of that gimmick, and of course, Mr. America, multiple I have a hard time. I think the conversation is great, but I have a real hard time putting anybody, even SGT Slaughter, honestly, who's very, very close second.
Cody Rhodes is actually on the record saying he liked Hogan's WCW theme, like you said, American Made, better than his WWF version, Real American. He preferred the WCW version for a theme song for Hogan.
It felt more wrestling to me, honestly, that theme versus, don't get me wrong, the Real American WWF was great, but it felt more like a song that was attached to a talent. And maybe that's, part of the reason why it wasn't created for Hulk Hogan, right? As opposed to WCW American Made felt like a wrestling song that was created for him, and off you go.
Well, there you go. Another vote for Hulk Hogan on the Wrestling Collector Slam line. Thanks for weighing in, Professor.
Absolutely. Love the topic. Love to hear what everybody else has to say. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to throw that poll back up so everyone can see it. If you're listening via YouTube right now, in the comments, you can just hit 1 in your comments. You'll give a vote for Hogan. Put a 2 in there. You'll vote for Sergeant Slaughter, a 3 for Kurt Angle, for other. And then it'll tally up throughout the show. And then at the end, I'll reveal what the comment section voted. But right now on the Wrestling Collector Slam line, it's 2 votes Hogan, 1 vote Sergeant Slaughter. Tom, are you surprised that Hogan right now is leading the callers?
Absolutely not. And another reason why is what Matt just said about, and it all comes down to money, right? It all comes down to who's generating the most revenue, who's making the most profit for the company, and obviously that character or any American character is a babyface character that's going to draw money for the company. So yeah, I mean, how can you not say it's not Hulk Hogan? If you're just gonna measure it that way, it has to be Hogan. So no, I'm not surprised at all. And again, you go back to what you said. As you automatically think of Sergeant Slaughter, the real American hero. But he did turn his back, even though it was storyline. He still turned his back on this country. I was just thinking of a song that I liked, "American Males, American Males." We didn't say the American Males yet.
That's true. One of the WCW tag teams, American Males were great.
But yeah, I mean, I think the conversation is going to keep flowing the way it is right now. To be honest with you.
I'm a little surprised because you guys you especially come from a promoter standpoint, so you always think the dollars. Professor went down the money route as well. I'm just thinking back to my childhood. Like, yes, Hulk Hogan represented the red, white, and blue probably more than anyone. But Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I think, needs a little bit more love because, man, he was waving
I
the
do
glory,
too.
chanting that USA chant nonstop. And so when I think back to the feels part of pro wrestling growing up, Hacksaw Jim Duggan seemed to always be representing the red, white, and blue.
Absolutely, he's got to be up there in everyone's conversation when they're saying 3, 4 guys. I think you're gonna keep hearing Duggan's name, or you should anyway.
Shout out to Robert Kelly in the comments. He's thinking Bob Backlund. Yes, Bob Backlund is one of the all-time patriotic pro wrestlers. It's hard not to
Yes.
include Bob Backlund in today's conversation.
Shout out to the coach who frequents both the Wrestling Collector and ISPW Wrestling. We appreciate you, Coach.
That's Robert Kelly. He's a coach?
No, he's not. He's not a coach. He's the coach.
No.
Yes, he's the coach.
No way. And that's pretty cool that he's in our comment section right now.
No, not the coach from Mr. Perfect. The coach. He's the coach, man. He's just the coach. That's his name.
Just the
Like
coach.
Babyface Brian, firefighter Brian,
Oh,
the coach.
I gotcha. He's
I
the
never want to
coach.
hear you call. I never want to hear you call him Robert Kelly again. It's the coach.
It's the coach from now
All right.
on, brother. The coach.
Change your name on there, Bob.
You mean the coach? Who's Bob?
Exactly.
All right, we're going to keep this conversation rolling. Who was the greatest American-themed wrestler of all time? Right now, Hulk Hogan's leading in the polls, but we got lots of time left. Who knows where the poll's going to lead? Up next, though, I know where we're headed. We're headed to the firehouse. It's time to visit with firefighter Brian. Brian, good morning, brother.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing very well. Happy 4th of July to you and your family.
Morning.
Yes. God bless America. Happy birthday, America. What do you guys got planned this weekend?
We're getting my family's leaving on vacation on Sunday, so we'll be packing up. We're going camping for a week. Housekeeping note: that means we're not going to have a podcast next week, unfortunately. But I'll be getting prepared for camping. How about you? What are you doing to celebrate the 4th?
Well, we're doing an annual pool party barbecue here with a crew of guys that I've known for years. Tomorrow, and then Saturday, the actual 4th. I don't know. My wife's parents live where they live in Queens. You can see the Macy's fireworks from their house, so we might go there that night. But other than that, all up in the air. I'm perfectly happy just staying home. I got the pool here, so with all the traffic, it's gonna be crazy this 4th. And for those of you who have dogs, get them in those soundproof rooms, man. Fireworks are gonna be nuts this year. So it's gonna be crazy. So just be careful shooting off those fireworks, and there's been a big heat wave throughout the country, as I'm sure you guys know, as Tommy's feeling it right now, I'm sure. And, just make sure your blinds and curtains are all completely closed. It'll help keep it cooler. The firefighter has to be a firefighter at some point, guys.
Listen, he's always full of the tips. I appreciate it, firefighter.
Hey,
Absolutely. And just so you know, right now it's 93 in New Jersey at 10:30 a.m. with the heat index is 97. It's supposed to go up to like 110 to 115 with the heat index today. So yeah, the rest of the
nice.
collector will have the rest of the collector will have air conditioning today.
Well, I would hope to Christ, Tommy. Thank God we got air conditioning, and yeah, just keep your blinds and curtains completely closed. It'll help keep the house cooler. And so, listen, I love this topic. I want to just ask a couple things quick. Number one, Tommy, and I'm sure you'll get into this later to plug when you plug your stuff. I saw that you are now going to get you involved in the wedding business. You're going to have wrestling themed weddings. So all I want to say is, if Father Brian should be needed to officiate any of these weddings, I know him very well. So just he owes me a favor. So just let me know, and I'm sure I could get him to come out of retirement. For a wrestling themed wedding. Um,
Yes.
yeah, right. And number two, last week the rookie um touched on this, and a couple of Jay, you mentioned this. I think it was the professor that mentioned it. Let me just weigh in quick on Tiffany Stratton with SGT Slaughter. Listen, and I like Tiffany a lot. She really improved since debuting in NXT. She stepped up her game. I actually think there's a lot more they can do with her than they have been. So I really felt bad in that regard. At the end of the day, guys, it's just another prime example that they don't make them like they used to. You don't have somebody like Jim Cornette sitting them down and watching videos of guys like Vern Gagne and Danny Hodge and Arnold Skolin, which Cornette used to do with the newer wrestlers. I'm not expecting them to know Don Leo Jonathan and Billy Watson and Dara Singh and all that, but yeah, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, to be on the cheerleading squad, you have to pass a test about the history of the Cowboys, of the history of the team. Here, they're not doing that anymore. So that's really where it's a sad state of affairs. And unfortunately, not only do I see no improvement on the horizon, I see it getting worse. Okay, so as long as this management is still running the show, they don't give a shit about the history or teaching these kids who don't know dick about wrestling, that kind of stuff. So it's a very sad state of affairs. And I want to ask you guys this last question, and then we'll get into American wrestlers. What do you, and it's a very relevant question. Did you guys see Night of Champions? And whether you did or you didn't, what do you think of Sami Zayn being the champ?
Well,
I get Jay. You go first.
I was gonna say I did not watch it, but my son, he's 13. He follows everything on social media. He's watched the YouTube shorts, so he's the one that told me that Sami Zayn is now the champion. And I'll be honest, like I enjoy Sami Zayn for what he is in my mind, and I could be narrow-minded on this. He doesn't seem like the guy who should be carrying the biggest belt in the company and representing the company to me. I loved him when he was the honorary Oos, and he's kind of a comedic mid-carder. He's very talented in the ring. Like I have a lot of respect for his abilities, but he just doesn't seem like the guy to me. But I'm not currently watching a lot of the current product. So maybe he's been getting a really big push. Maybe he's earned this spot. Maybe it was his time. Maybe the fans are behind him. But when my son told me, I was kind of a little surprised that he won.
All right, and I'll give you my take on it. So, I don't think I might have mentioned this a couple years back on the podcast, maybe not. So, I never saw what everyone saw in Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I kind of grouped them together because they kind of came at the same time, and best friends and they have a lot of history together. Like for some reason, I never saw what everyone else saw until that WrestleMania where Sami Zayn wrestled the Jackass guy, and it wound up being such a unbelievably entertaining match, and that was all Sammy. And when Kevin Owens had that kind of wrestling match with Stone Cold Steve Austin at the end of WrestleMania, and he did such an amazing job making Steve look just as dominant as he's always been. Like at that point, for those two guys, I then saw what maybe the office saw and what all the fans saw. And there's no question that Sami Zayn has worked tremendously hard over the last decade in the WWE. And there's no denying that he is one of their over next level characters. When his music hits and when he comes out on that stage, there's a big reaction, and there has been for a very long time. Is he the guy like Jay said? I don't see that either. I don't see him as the same way I look as a Roman Reigns or a Cody Rhodes, or to a lesser extent a Seth Rollins, or one of those type of characters, or CM Punk. However, and it's a big however, I do believe he has earned this opportunity, and they had to throw him a bone. Eventually, the guy is a workhorse for that company. Is super over. There's no denying how over he is with that audience. He connects with that audience. Not that many people do that. Will it be a long-term thing? I don't think so. I think some way, somehow, Gunther maybe gets it from him or something. But it was a feel-good moment in his in front of his home people, and it will go down as something that people always remember. And for that, I think it was successful, very successful.
I agree with you in that regard, Tommy. And listen, I've always liked him. Okay, I have always liked him. Another big, Sami Zayn Kevin Owens moment was, of course, the main event of night one when they took on the Usos in a tag team match in what may be the best tag team match in the history of WrestleMania, and I know that's saying a lot. But Sami Zayn, I've always liked him. Like you said, a great worker, workhorse in the ring. Yes, to carry Johnny Knoxville to a very, dare I say, good match at, very entertaining, like you said, at WrestleMania. I'm not crazy too much about the character. I wish they'd go back to, just the grid, the guy with the heart of the lion. I think he needs a little bit of a makeover. Get a haircut, shave the beard. Go back to your roots, so to speak. But other than that, I would say, and again, I hate to, we've been knocking on Saudi Arabia so long that I'm sick of it. But he's I wouldn't have done it there. I would have done it somewhere where you would have gotten a bigger pot. They're just they could only get so loud over there. And that was a small arena. I don't want, and if you look closely, there were a lot of empty seats. But, so I would have done it somewhere else. When I think of him, I don't think him as the Syrian. I mean, which is fine. I think of him, he has a Canadian from Montreal. But I would have done it somewhere else. But other than that, I think he is worthy of a chance at the title. I am with you, Tommy. I think he's going to probably lose it at SummerSlam if he makes it that far. Let's finish up with the topic for today. So you guys brought up American males. Let's not forget Stars and Stripes, Patriot, and Marcus Alexander Bagwell. And let's not forget the Patriots, Firebreaker Chip, and I forget the other guy. They hailed from WCW Special Forces. So let's not leave them out. So as far as my American themed wrestlers go, my Mount Rushmore, of course, Sarge, of course, Hacksaw, of course, Hogan. The fourth guy, there's a lot of ways you can go. All right. I might have to say, when I think of American themed wrestlers, I think of wrestlers that when they came out, the fans yell USA. And every time, any company he was in, WCW, his short run in WWF, and the Indies, the Patriot was always extremely popular, always got that big USA chant. Patriot is one of my favorite underrated wrestlers. He had a look and a name that went like peanut butter and jelly. They fit each other perfectly. And he had a great look, great name. He could go with anybody in the ring. And one thing about the Patriot, he was a part of maybe one of my favorite years in the history of wrestling, 1997. That was when Bret Hart turned heel, and we had the Canada versus USA angle, which is one of my all-time favorite angles. Bret was hated in the United States, loved in the rest of the world, and you had Stone Cold, who was becoming a face but still acting as a heel. I loved the bloodthirsty, methodical, Stone Cold who would beat up anybody and didn't care. I loved that Austin. And it was so hot, that angle, that they brought in the Patriot to help fuel it up. And at Ground Zero, he went toe to toe with Bret Hart. So yeah, a lot of love for the Patriot. And let me just say quick, and a babyface mentioned him, Corporal Kirshner. Corporal Kirshner was in a was a victim of unfair circumstance. Okay, Sergeant Slaughter went to went to sign a contract with Kenner, so they brought in Corporal Kirshner. He had tremendous shoes to fill. It's easy to forget how hated and over Sarge was as a heel when he first came to the WWF, and how beloved and popular he was as a babyface. Um, it was huge shoes to fill. But you know what? I think it was the right move. It just didn't work because Corporal Cursor, unlike Slaughter, actually served in the military. And there's a lot of wrestlers who have served. Road Dogg, Bobby Lashley, Montez Ford, and Lacey Evans. How can we forget her? List goes on and on and on. Craig Menendez, who had the TNA just completely wasted. All them, and God bless all of them, and God bless this great country, and God bless all of you.
Thank you so much, Firefighter Brian. In your opinion, who
Yes.
looked more like a real American soldier, Sergeant Slaughter or Kirshner?
But honestly, Kirshner. Maybe, but put it this way: with all the gear on, maybe Sarge, but pound for pound, the two of them, you could. He would even stand like he was in combat. I'd probably have to say Kirshner.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think, like you said, I think it comes from the fact that he was a real. He served in the U.S. Army. He was a real military guy.
Right. Absolutely. And listen, let me just end with the most important thing I think any of us could say is that, listen, this country has always, almost always, if not always, been far from perfect. But it's the best country in the world. Nowhere I'd rather be. I've been in various countries. I've been in a few different. I've been in Europe, been in Canada, and Costa Rica. I've been around Mexico. I've been around, but America is the greatest country on earth, and no place I'd rather be. And wherever you all are this weekend, be safe, be careful, have fun, stay cool, and most of all, just remember, the guys like Corporal Kirshner who served this country, and of course, more than anything, those who made the ultimate sacrifice. So God bless, and I'll talk to you guys 2 weeks from now. Enjoy your trip, Jay.
Thank you so much, Firefighter Brian. Well said. Thanks for weighing in on today's discussion. So far in the polls, Hulk Hogan, it seems to be the runaway leader for the greatest American-themed wrestler of all time. Somebody's name who was brought up early, but we really haven't talked too much about is Lex Luger, Tommy, with that Lex Express. Do you think his name's not getting much love this morning because, well, it almost kind of seemed maybe like it was a forced gimmick that WWF, they had the narcissist gimmick. That really wasn't gaining traction. They needed someone to replace the iconic Hogan-esque figure in WWF at the time, and so they kind of put Lex Luger into that spot. Do you think it was just a short gimmick that it doesn't live long enough with the Lex Luger legacy to make people want to bring his name up today?
I do think that because he came to WWF at the time and he wasn't an American character. And, that was a short-lived gimmick. And then, he did the Allied Powers with Davey Boy Smith. But then he went back to WCW, and again, he wasn't the American character. He was the total package. So, yeah, it's not getting enough mention because I think that the majority of us that are old school fans that know Lex Luger in his career, our brains are not going towards his name or his likeness when we hear America because it kind of was a force-fed gimmick, right? And it really didn't get over the way that they hoped that would get over. They sure did try. They had the Lexus Express bus. They had him body slam Yokozuna on the Intrepid on the 4th of July, which should be something that goes down in history of always being shown every 4th of July episode that WWE is doing. And I don't believe that it has, right? And something like that important on the 4th of July, slamming the unstoppable, 700-pound Japanese wrestler on the Intrepid on the 4th of July should get a little bit more hype than that. So yeah, I guess that's why we're not thinking him because we weren't really thinking of him to think that,
No, that's a great point. And you said WWE should be showing that footage this time of year every year. And then what Firefighter Brian said about Tiffany, maybe not watching tapes of older wrestlers enough. Let me ask you this time. This is kind of off topic, but both you made a comment, so it's got my brain kind of going in this direction. You're around young independent wrestlers all the time. Do you see hungry young wrestlers watching tapes of guys like Sergeant Slaughter, Luger, Tony Atlas, older guys to get knowledge about the business?
For sure. For sure. And that was really embarrassing. And I'm sure that she's very embarrassed. And it's almost like, can you really blame her because she came from an industry that wasn't wrestling? She kind of got signed into it, and I think she's doing tremendously well for someone that never really inspired to be a wrestler and just kind of learned on the fly, right? I think that she's doing a great job, but I think that when you're in it, once you're in it, and you're getting press and you're making a name for yourself and you're a celebrity, which obviously she is now. She's got a big following. She gets a big reaction when she comes out. At that point, you almost got to point the finger to her, saying, you should be, this is your profession now. You should be going back and you should be, learning who paved the way and who are some of the biggest stars ever in this industry, and try and learn new stuff. But the Sergeant Slaughter one is it's head scratching almost, because for you to say SGT Slaughter, and I thought anyway that he was a household name in our industry, and not in our industry, but he's a pop culture name as well because of GI Joe. So it was a little embarrassing that she didn't know how to say his name, and it seemed like she didn't know a couple of the other guys were either. I did get a chance to see that video, but again, it's a different world. The people that are brought in today, trust me, are getting trained and learning things differently than the old school people did. So it's a learning curve. I'm sure that won't happen again with her.
Yeah, it's interesting. And like you said, it's just a mistake. But even not knowing that SGT is short for sergeant when the guy on the card's in a military outfit, you think that would have been a context clue. But also, Tiffany's from Minnesota. Sergeant Slaughter grew up in Minnesota. I blame our Minnesota school districts for not educating Tiffany on some of our local heroes.
I saw a retweet someone asked Sergeant Slaughter a question, and he wrote back, Tiffany who? With a question mark.
I think he's still under a Legends contract, I believe. So I think it'd be fun to do a segment with the two of them.
Yes, maybe she has to sit in on a 10-hour long Sergeant Slaughter history lesson by Sergeant Slaughter.
I just feel like the drill sergeant should come out, make her do a couple push-ups in the ring. I think it'd be great.
Yes.
Somebody else that I just mentioned, but we really haven't talked about is Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. I'm going to put his image on the screen here holding the ISPW Tri-State Championship. Another great American gimmick.
Absolutely. And we're super excited for all the recent publicity that Tony got us when we gave him the Tri-State title. It was on every website. It was everywhere. If you Google Tony Atlas wins title at 72, you're going to see ISPW pop up on every major wrestling news site. You're also going to see it on Yahoo, on AOL. I think it was Newsweek. All these different, almost every big outlet picked up the story that Tony Atlas won the title at 72 years old. So yes, he's definitely someone that should be in there as well.
What was his level of excitement, or when he won that title for your company? What did he feel like?
I'll tell you what, the next day when he saw that over 1 million people, so I posted the picture probably like at 10 o'clock at night. It was I believe the show was on a Saturday. So at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday, I posted that, with that picture that you have up on the screen right now. And you guys know the algorithm of Facebook, like on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock, there ain't going to get much traction, So I woke up the next morning and I already had like 500,000 views. I'm like, holy shit. And then as the day went on, it was going up tremendously by the hour to the point now we're at like 1.9 million people saw that post. It was shared everywhere and everyone picked up the story. And we're hoping to recreate that again with him defending the title in just 3 weeks' time back at the Wildwoods Convention Center for our Legends of Wrestling night. So we're starting to hype that up right now. So yeah, we're super excited. And yes, Mr. USA Tony Atlas should definitely be in the discussion. He wears he wears USA like pants now to the ring. So he is definitely part of his gimmick.
I've got the graphic on the screen for the upcoming Legends of Wrestling night in Wildwood. I also put a QR code. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can scan that with your phone. It'll take you where you can buy tickets. What else you got coming up in your world here, Tommy?
Well, thank you for throwing that up on the screen. So that's going to be in the month of July. I have it easy. I only have 2 events in the month of July. Thank goodness. July 11th, which is next Saturday, we are going to be doing a Christmas in July show. It's going to be called ISW Christmas in July, and it's going to be in Little Falls, New Jersey at Woodford Hall. It's going to be Santa vs. the Grinch again, Jumpin' Jay. Last time we did it back in Christmas time, it was super popular. Everyone was really excited about it. We're doing it again. This time, the Guardian of Christmas title will be on the line. Will Santa be able to retain the Guardian of Christmas title? We will find out next Saturday. Again, that's Christmas in July. Tickets are available in ispwwrestling.com, or if you're watching this live right now, you can click on to or take a picture of that QR code and head over to the website and check it out. And then on the 23rd of July, which is actually 3 weeks from today, we're doing Legends of Wrestling at the Wildwood Convention Center. Tons of big names there, including Ken Shamrock, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, the Powers of Pain. Tony Allison said will be in action. Val Venus will be in action against Rico Gold. The Headbangers will be there in action too in a fatal 4-way. TLC match. Tons of big things going on in this show. Again, for more information, you can head over to ispwwrestling.com.
That's right. We're going to take a look here at the poll. And according to the comment section, Hulk Hogan is your runaway greatest American team wrestler of all time. I feel like the callers cemented that as well. So at least for today, according to 80s Wrestling, the podcast, the greatest American team wrestler of all time, none other than the real American Hulk Hogan.
Awesome. And I do believe he was my number one as well.
I'm going to throw up your graphic here for the Wrestling Collector, the pro wrestling capital of New Jersey. You've got some awesome Facebook ads that you put out there, brother. You got one on the screen here with Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, and then one of my favorites, you got the Rock and Wrestling Crew fighting outside of the Wrestling Collector on Route 23. That is absolutely awesome. I'll switch the QR code to go to the Wrestling Collector Superstore. But yeah, any big things happening at the Wrestling Collector coming up?
Not really right now, only because, well, other than the episode of the Major Figures podcast should be dropped.
I'm looking for it, brother.
Yeah, I think in the next week or so it's going to be out. So keep an eye on that. And we really haven't really had any signings or events here just because we're so busy with ISPW right now. We're doing events almost every weekend between live events and birthday parties. So it's weekends are when you have to have the wrestlers here, and because people work during the week. So it's been tough to get guests in here because of my crazy schedule. But hopefully once the fall comes, we can set up some cool events and get some stuff rocking here at the store again.
But the AC will be turned on. So if you're in the New Jersey area and you're looking to add to your wrestling collection, head over to the Wrestling Collector. And then Tommy, Firefighter Brian said ISPW is offering wrestling-themed weddings now. The only question I have is the part of the ceremony where they say, speak now or forever hold your peace. If somebody doesn't want these two getting married, do they get to do a run-in, hit the groom with a steel chair and take the bride?
Listen, for the right amount of money, they can do whatever they want. But yes, but yes. So wherever I can set up a wrestling ring and do an event, it's an opportunity for more business for ISPW. Whether that be a fundraiser for a school, whether that be a town event where you put the ring in someone's middle of the field, or a street fair you have right in the street. A birthday party, we can bring the ring right to your backyard and give you a private show for your friends and family, which we do a lot of now, which is super fun and super cool and super easy, by the way. It's very laid back. Whether it is, us, the people renting a venue to have a birthday party, and we can bring the ring there and set it up. Or, if someone, a gender reveal party, we've done that before. And now, if you're interested in having a pro wrestling wedding, I know probably the 99% of the wives out there are going to say, absolutely not, I will kill you. But there could be, and there should be, a few wrestling couples out there that both love wrestling, that follow wrestling, that might think it's absolutely perfect for them in their relationship to make it wrestling themed, because that's how they met, and that's what they both loved wrestling and fell in love with each other because of wrestling. There's got to be many stories like that out there. And for some people, that might be the perfect wedding, is having a wrestling wedding and celebrating their love that way. So ISPW is making that available now. So anyone that is interested in possibly having that, or you can even listen, we're so laid back, Jumpin' Jay, you can hire us for a barbecue and we will come set up the ring in your backyard. No, I'm serious. We'll set up the ring in the backyard and we'll have a private show for you and your friends and your family in your backyard. Because like the $1 Million Man says, everybody's got a price.
Well said. I love it. Now I just got to talk my wife into renewing our wedding vows.
Hey, listen, how about a birthday party? Huh?
Why? I think every celebration in life should take place inside a squared circle.
Yes.
All right,
listen,
brother. No show next week. Take us home, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Well, not Iron Sheik. Tommy Sheik actually, when someone was talking, he wanted to take you home. Jumpin' Jay, before he takes it home, I want to wish you and your family a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I hope you guys have a great time. Hope you're going to be able to have at least a day off and relax and celebrate, because I know that you go just as hard as I do. To all the listeners out there, thank you so much for continuing to listen to 80s Wrestling, the podcast, each and every week. We love doing it. It's such a blast. And I hope you guys enjoy your holiday as well. I am going to put on Tommy Sheik to say goodbye, and I will talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Here you go. Tommy Sheik. Hello. Hello.
Tommy Sheik, it's our go home show before the 4th of July, brother.
Okay, then it's time to go home. Russia, #1. Iran, #1. USA, hot tour.
I don't know if we can end on that note, Tommy. You got to say something nice about the country. You like hot dogs or hamburgers?
Fuck you.